Hello, YouTube. This is Joseph, or Jam, or Jar, or whatever the heck you want to call me, as long as it starts with a J. And it's going to be my Izuku Midoriya Deku. I'm just going to call him Deku. A good and mostly pure deck profile. Like to... If it doesn't make sense, like, character and story-wise to me, I feel like I'm not playing the character right. So, obviously, here's Izuku Midoriya. 6 hand size, 28 health. Pretty good. Name an attack zone. If it matches for your rival's attack, it's -3 speed. Not the main thing that I care about for this card or strategy, but I mean, it helps sometimes if you can call them right, or if they don't change it depending on the matchup. But it's also good just mind tricks, and it can also cause them to change what they're doing if they do change their attacks and such. But bottom one is once per turn, discard your hand. My punch attack gets +10 damage. Really good. One of my only problems with this like kind of deck and character in general is I feel like he's outclassed, but by like All Might himself, because All Might, like at least the number one or first All Might 1, being able to just draw, even though like your hand size goes down by a bit, he has more health, and but he can also just draw three cards every turn, which being able to draw cards and just get back those resources for like any time basically is really good. But this one's more so all about damage, at least for me. Also, this is kind of like budget build, except because this is like the only expensive card, but everything else is pretty cheap. So there's Deku, and there's our main guy. And now for foundation lineup, these are my 4 ofs, 3 ofs, 2 ofs, 1 ofs. I don't like to run 1 ofs because I feel like if you have a 1 of, you don't really need it that often, if at all. So you might as well just have like another 2 of or something, so you can kind of see it. But 3 ofs, pull no punches. Before I used to have this at a 3 or 2, because it pops itself and add a punch from your card with momentum. I never really get to use the deadlock enhance. It's mostly because I always use it to pop itself, which is really good. And my main thing with this is to obviously get like as many as I can of these first and second turn. Mostly because like my main idea is to just get momentum to like use Gift from Mom and like set up strike and other attacks to so I can use their abilities like to plus speed, plus damage, etc. Also, the fact that it removes from my card pool makes things a little easier for me when I'm trying to OTK, which if you couldn't kind of tell, this is mostly going to be trying to OTK your opponent, or at the very least, big damage, big attacks. While also drawing cards. My main thing with this is to just big damage, big attacks, but also being able to barely survive your opponent's turn, so then you can finish them off if you don't kill them. Which is why for next one, passing torch 2/5, commit, draw 1, no cards in hand, draw 2. This is pretty much a must-have in any Deku, All Might, and probably Kirishima decks, I would imagine. But this is just really good. So when you do, discard your whole hand or have nothing in hand, you can commit, draw 2, pot of greed. And then this is one of the scary cards, but it's also not that scary. It's Precious Lesson. When one of your foundations is removed or destroyed, I build the top card of my deck face down. This was like the main card that made me put this up to 3, or from 3 to 4. Is that so while I'm using this to not only get momentum and make my attacks and cards easier to play because progressive difficulty, I'm also able to build one foundation face down, so I can hopefully then be able to have more foundations to check cards for blocks or whatever on my opponent's turn, and then hopefully for more attacks if need be for my next turn. That's the main idea with this, and it's my only 4 check card foundation lineup wise. And I think that's pretty good because I have the 2 6s here, so that kind of makes up for it. And also a lot of spam foundation for the most part. And it's a 1 of, so just this in and of itself is a spam foundation. So if I have 3 of these, that's pretty good, at least for me. But this is the main thing, with synergy with pull no punches and this, and then a few others. But this is the main reason why I'm my whole deck kind of revolves around this and this. Next is Self-Sacrifice, Spam Foundation, 1 low block, so really good block-wise and just spam. Also Destroy Foundation, +1 or -1 damage. I don't really like to use it for that because at least for me, I'm not I don't have a lot of ways like to get stuff back from the discard pile or grave, as I like to call it. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player, but the fact it has synergy with this, also just good spam and good block if need be. So I figure run it at 4. I tried taking it out, running at 2 or 3. It's just, and like maybe putting this up, but this I just didn't. I wasn't feel like I wasn't getting as much value, even though this is probably better because a lot of my other spam foundations here, like this and that, are mostly focusing like on a survivability during my opponent's turn, just so I can survive that one turn and hopefully kill them the next. And that's what that is. It also has synergy, so like if need be, I can pop a foundation, probably itself, but whatever I want, and then build one so I can get more foundations. So I can kind of somewhat still have stuff to play. Like if I have a card committed, pop that, and I replace it so I have another card. At least that's the general idea. And then note taking, another obviously 4 of in any good deck, I feel, or at least any punch good deck, like All Might Deku. Flip, your punch gets +2 speed. Just a simple +2 speed, make it harder to block. Easy stuff, easy stuff. And then a 0, it can't be helped. Really good bait if you're playing against stun decks and whatever, to use this, then build another card. This doesn't come up very often for me, but when it does, it's huge. Also, it's a 0, so really helps with spam if I can get like a 0, 1, 2, 3 for like foundations in hand. So really good for spam. And those are my 4 ofs. For 3 ofs, get from mom, and then resistance. This for resistance, breaker, so it's pretty good. Also, it's a bit of a spam foundation because 1. And then your rival's next attack, it's -2 damage. This is mostly to just play defensive on my opponent's turn, so I can like hopefully survive. Response flip, after your rival plays a stun ability, cancel it. And so yeah, that also does help. Comes up a little bit. Mostly I have it mostly as just spam, but also defensive wise, and it's good for that. Then get from mom. The reason I used to have this at like a 2 because I just didn't really need to see it that often, and it was also just like a whatever card. But once, because I'm also still kind of new to this whole universus game, but once I asked a question and learned that if I have 2 of these or all of them out on the field, I could theoretically use all of them as long as I have the momentum to pay cost, and that's 12 plus damage just from these. That's why as well as mostly focusing on adding to momentum, so I could actually use this a bit. I would put it up to like a 4. I mean, actually, I wouldn't do that because I don't want too much 3s and 2s for foundations to check. That's why I just have it at 3. I still don't even see it that often, but I think I see it just enough to where it can be useful. And at the very least, just another spam foundation, kind of. And then coordinated effort, it's a 3/6. The 6s kind of make up for a precious lessons 4 of. At least 2 of them do. And I have it at 2 just because even though it's a unique card, I mean, it's a good 6 check if doing a bunch of attacks or other such things. But also that's so I can see it often because its ability to commit to build one of my attacks if they do block it, because that does happen quite a lot. If I can build it face down, I'm okay with that. Excuse me. I'm okay with that. So then, even though my attacks didn't go through and I don't get momentum, that's still like help me out for my next turn, so I can hopefully survive and just block some cards. As well as deadlock enhance to unflip a foundation is pretty good. I don't have a whole lot of flips, but I use it mostly with a precious lesson and note taking. And it can't be helped. It's like some like useful ones, but also not useful ones, at least to me. And I have 2 specials of sound. I had this like at 3, I think, before to get it, but I don't want it. It's another 2 check, or it's another 2 foundation, which isn't spammable to me. To me, spam foundations are 1 and below, and 2 and above is non-spam. But there's another card to just look at the top card of my deck, which is pretty good, so I can kind of see what I have to do, what I have to work with. As well, when attack is played, it gets -3 speed. Another defensive card. These 2 are kind of like my main defense cards. And that's if foundation line applies. I don't like running a bunch of 2s and such, mostly because I want to have like a main baseline strategy. This is at least like my current build. This is going to be like Deku Good Deck 1.1. Because I always like to deck build and test things. But at this current state, this is what I'm going with foundation lineup, and it's been treating me pretty well. And then attack lineup, 4s, 3s, and 2s. I'll start with my 2s. These are kind of the least useful ones, but also very helpful ones. Velocity Punch. I used to not have this at all, because because I was like, oh, I have to take away one of my momentums, which I kind of need to kind of help us commit and survive turns. But at the same time, like I wouldn't always see this. Sometimes I don't see this at all, and sometimes all my attacks get blocked. So I figure doing this and then getting one momentum would be pretty good, especially if I can like do this, add a momentum, then use Gift for Mom, just like some extra damage if need be, or anything. So that's pretty good. That's why I only have it at 2 of, because I don't really need to see it often, if at all, but sometimes it's a little useful for extending. And Setup Strike, I kind of want it the same rate as this, where it's like play this and then play this afterwards. So you get top enhanced. Also, this is just a good little extender for any of your punch attacks, whether it be Delaware to make it harder to just block because it's just pretty good, or just making your other ones harder to block. Next, Texas Nash, $17 for one of these cards. I hate it, but this attack is really good. Also a good block. Combo, Fury, Punch. Combo Enhance gets +4 damage. Discard one, my next attack gets +4 damage. This, I want it the same right I see Delaware Smash. Because if I can play this and just discard one, so this can do 10 damage theoretically, and because if they're trying to block this, it's just good. Big damage. And that's also another reason why I stress pull no punches is really important, because of the fact that it removes cards from my card pool, so I can just constantly be playing attacks. At least that's my idea. And then Delaware Smash, I don't really need to explain this. I have this at a 4 of and a 2 of, and I keep constantly changing it, but I think 3 of is really good for it. To where like sometimes it's just good to be kind of like just play it and then hopefully get a momentum from it or not, or just kind of try and inflict some tick damage, you know? But I think it's good for that reason. Could be 4. Could be 2, but I think 3 is like probably honestly one of the safest numbers. Often enough, but not often enough. So it's perfect amount. Then 4 Missouri Smash. I really like this card, but I also really hate it. If a punch attack is dealt damage this turn, draw 1. Now, another problem I have is with all these playing defensive and spammy is that I'm not getting a bunch of cards to my hand. It's like I play all that and I'm kind of left with few cards in hand. And so that's why I played this, so that way when I am dealing damage, or if like I'm going for OTK, because I theoretically could with the foundation that I have set up, but I don't have any of the attacks in hand. Play this, hopefully like it's the second or third card after one has dealt damage, preferably after this has dealt damage or something like this, or that. These are like my main hope ones. So I can just get a good draw one. And then as well, if this attack deals damage, build the next foundation and play face up. I really love that, because again, this is me being able to like set up defensively wise for my opponent's next turn if they try and take me out, so I can have more foundations to play and such. Obviously, it's only if this deals damage, but that's kind of why I want this to be kind of later in my plays, so they've already kind of wasted resources on blocking attacks. So this does get to do that as well. If I have like another pull no punches or other just foundation stand, just play them right away and boom, straight to card pool or stage. Yeah, stage. My bad. And then just straight to my stage. So then that also kind of clear up the card pool because it just goes straight there. So then I can play another one. And 4 of Future Charge. Having a 4 of a Deku attack was really difficult for me to pick, because they either all need momentum, which I kind of sometimes struggle to get, even like with these cards. But I like this the most because I get to draw one. So optimally, I have 2 of these in hand. So I play one, draw one, play another one, draw 2, and then boom, just off 2 cards. And because most of the checks are at least 5, most of them, you're pretty much guaranteed off of these 2 to play it for the most part. And you just drew 3 cards. So like that's like super good. And it's like if you draw nothing off those 3 cards, you might want to rethink your numbers, I feel like. But so far it's been treating me really well. Excuse me. It's been treating me really well, and like also hopefully like another idea I've had with this is that because it's like a pretty weak whatever attack, and it's mostly used for auto drawing, your opponent might just let it go or half block it, so that way you can go to your momentum. But also they might do that because it's like it's just a whatever card, he's just trying to get resources. So this goes to my momentum, and I get to draw cards. At least that's my thought process. And so that's my main. That's the main deck list altogether. Oh, I don't like that. But so that's it. It's 52 cards, main plus character, so 53, but 52. And then as for my side deck, I haven't really figured anything out like definitive yet, but I'm definitely thinking of capture evildoers. And then You're So Obvious for the mirror match. It's also just kind of good defensive wise. That's why I used to have this as a 3 of in my deck, but the fact that it was another 4 check was really ruining me. But the fact that it does destroy does give it good synergy with the Precious Lesson or whatever it is, so that's good. But I mostly have this for the mirror matchup, and I just mostly have this for the matchup. As well, this is good, because actions are always good, breaker, good defense-wise. But not only that, I can remove people's momentum for Ochiko matchups, and just any other matchup that I need to. And if need be, discard a momentum, which I should hopefully be able to get pretty easily. And then I can remove cards from my card pool, so I can hopefully go for more attacks. That's really good. Also, this gives me a momentum when I remove one of my rivals, so that's also really good. I might make this a 3 of, and like still keep this so I can get another 3 of, and then these are other cards I'm considering. Okay. Full counting is good, but it's also not good for me because my main thought process with this is that like I'd rather just discard my hand for like extra damage or something than discard hand then draw 3. It's a little good, like if you have a bad hand and then just 3 new resources, but at the same time, I'd rather just play my future charges because I can draw 3. And then if this attack is not blocked, commit your rival's character, good, but I feel like no, also it's $25, so like not really doing that. So that's why I haven't been playing that. And then as for Heroic Strike, I used to have this at a 3 or 2, never a 4, because like obviously commit foundations, reach punch, attack in your card pool, very good. But with me removing cards from my card pool, loses the synergy of having a bunch in there. But not only that, there's so many like spammy foundation, the spam foundations, where it's like when this is committed because it's stun or your opponent's whatever, build another card or they do something. So I figured not playing this, because this is probably a good card to play in the first place. I'd be playing right into their hands. I'd be helping them more than anything. So I figured no to that, but definitely still a decent card to maybe think of in the side. And then Reverse, though, really good, because basically guaranteed momentum. But my problem with this is that it's a 5 check, which is like kind of severe to me, just for one attack. As well, if it deals 5 or more damage, draw 1. Like, I need momentum. Like, I'd rather just, I don't know. This is something I'd probably also stick in with like these 3 cards, like 4-4-2 or something like that, or 4-3-3. Not sure. Still thinking about that, but this is probably gonna be like the attack, one of the few attacks I'm still thinking of putting in, as well as Aspiring Punch, because that's also pretty good. But and then Manly Passionate Guy, I was running this in the version where this was like one of my one spams. But after you block with Foundation, build it face up. My main thing is whenever I block, I usually will go with my attacks, because those have the lower block modifiers, at least in this version of my deck. So I never do that, which is why like Uncoordinated Effort or whatever, blocking whenever I block with an attack, build it face down, super good. This I would still say is also really good, but just not in my current version of the deck. And that is going to be it for my Deku Izuku Midoriya good, mostly pure deck profile. Keep in mind, this is going to be basically like a 1.0 version, and I'm still kind of learning this game. Granted, this is just going to be my hero format, but I think this going for OTK turn like 2 or 3 has been serving me pretty well. I've been playing a lot against Aizawa because that's what my friend plays, and so far it's either I win like 2nd or 3rd turn, or he kind of slowly is able to survive and beat me. But it just depends on the matchup. It depends on the matchup. I haven't been able to face a whole lot of say other good players or like good character decks, so that's why like for now, this is just how it'll be for now. But I think this is pretty solid. All considered, I think this is really solid. This is for me is just like pure damage. Just go for the kill. and with minimal setup to survive their next turn, so then you can finish them off if you didn't kill them that first turn. That's what this is, at least to me. If you like my deck profile, if you like this, if you love me, which I mean, why wouldn't you? I love me. You should too. But if you want to see more deck profiles, because I have a few other characters I really like to play and I just like from the show. Tell me. You can see my iteration version of their deck. As well, hopefully I'll be playing with my friend who plays Aizawa, hopefully soon, in a Deku versus Aizawa. So, Sensei versus student match. But that'll be all, and I'll see you next time. Please subscribe.